Hey everybody, and welcome back to Hard Ticket, the show where we go to the movies expecting a double feature, only to find that both movies we're seeing are playing at the exact same time. I'm Jeffrey Boggess.
And I'm Tristan Moore.
And we have a special guest with us here today. Say hi, special guest.
Hi, special guest.
Oh, he did it.
Oh,
he did it.
Ayo,
He did the
ayo,
thing.
Hi, the thing. I'm Josh Brown.
Josh, why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself and the perspective that you bring to the movies?
Oh, that's an interesting take. So, as already stated, I am Josh Brown. I guess I just am a friend of the podcast, a friend of you guys, more of an acquaintance. I don't want to assume, I suppose, but
we'll invite anybody on here.
as this proves. I'm actually just a social studies teacher back in Pennsylvania, but I have been a movie lover my entire life, movie theater goer as well. And I guess what you guys are going to try and spin is that I have experience in acting. That's your
spinning.
Excuse.
You do have experience in acting. You literally do.
I am a teacher as my full-time job, folks.
You were the film club president at WVU, too, right?
No,
nowhere close, because I was teaching.
But you were in the film club, right?
I was. The highest position I had was secretary, and I couldn't even do that right.
There we go. Secretary of the film club.
Oh, I thank you.
Former
Yes.
WVU Film Club secretary. Myself, former WVU Film Club president, and Tristan might have gone to a meeting once.
I went to one of the Zoom meetings, yeah.
Look at us now.
Once it was conveniently online because of COVID, you did make the hard trip out.
Yes.
This week, we're making the hard trip out to the movie theaters in a food-themed episode. So why don't we stop wasting time talking to each other like good friends and start talking about this week's movies. Tristan, can you kick things off by telling us about option number A?
Yeah, option number A is 1996's Big Night. It's a film directed by Stanley Tucci and Campbell Scott, not Scott Campbell. I got it. It's a comedy drama starring two brothers played by Stanley Tucci and Tony Shalhoub, who you probably know from Monk fame, or he was also in the Spy Kids movies. He was Floop's assistant. I don't remember. He's like the doctor. Don't remember his name. They run a restaurant in 1950s Jersey Shore, and they are in competition with a restaurant across the street, basically, that is way more successful. There's lots of financial difficulties, and in order to try to gain some notoriety, they host a big night for this jazz artist, Louis Prima.
An Italian-American jazz artist.
Yes,
too.
yes. Who their competition actually says he's invited to the restaurant. And shenanigans ensue. Josh, had you ever seen Big Night before?
I actually had seen Big Night before. I watched it, I believe, 2 years ago for a little film club online that I discovered during COVID. And they started pushing out Big Night. It was luckily on Paramount at the time, I think, and I had an absolute blast watching it.
Sweet.
That's great, because when Tristan suggested this matchup, I had no f***ing idea what Big Night was. And I said, nobody else is going to know what that is either.
I proved you to be a liar.
Josh proved me wrong. And also, I didn't know this at the time, but it was like one of the earliest episodes of the popular Binging with Babish show that's online, where I think he made the timpano that Tucci and his brother make in this movie. So it does have some notoriety. You know, it was a profitable movie too. It's a really good one. I hadn't seen it before this podcast, obviously, but I watched it and I had a good time, and I'm excited to talk a little bit more about it. Option number B is Chef by Jon Favreau. Maybe a little bit more in the public consciousness because it's a younger movie. It came out in 2014. It was written by, directed by, and starring Jon Favreau. as a chef who works at a restaurant, and his best years, I guess, are sort of behind him because the restaurant owner wants him to stick to the same menu week in, week out. And John, he's a little fed up with that. He wants to be creative. He wants to be the big shot chef he was when he first got hired. And the whole movie is sort of a thinly veiled metaphor for Favreau's own dissatisfaction working in the film industry when he was coming off the heels of Iron Man 2. This is before Disney recaptured him and shackled him to the basement to direct new episodes of The Mandalorian. And it's this weird period in his life where he's upset with commercial work, but then he starts doing it again right after this. And all of the characters are kind of stand-ins for, like, you have Dustin Hoffman, who's basically Kevin Feige saying, you got to stick to the menu. You got to stick to the script. This is what people want. You've got his son / social media manager, who I've read online some people say is like a stand-in for Shane Black, who comes in to direct Iron Man 3 after this. You have Robert Downey Jr. playing himself like he always does from 2008 onward. And it's a good time. It's a fun time. Had either of you guys seen this movie before this podcast? Josh, I'm looking specifically at you.
I had seen this movie before this podcast somehow. Yeah, my uncle gives me a double feature every month. And way back in August, I think of like 22 or 23, he gave me Chef and Paddington 2 for a feel-good duo, is how he described it. And yeah, they definitely worked for sure. One is definitely better than the other. And it's the one with the talking bear. So
I don't remember that scene in this movie. But
Yeah, we're not talking about Jon Favreau.
Tristan, what about you? What's your experience with Chef?
Yeah, I'd never seen Chef. I was barely even aware of its existence. The only thing I knew about Chef was that it was a movie directed and starring Jon Favreau, and he cast Scarlett Johansson and Sofia Vergara as his partners in the movie. And I was like, yep, that sounds like Jon Favreau. So
Yes. Yeah, I think the top review on Letterboxd calls it like
science fiction.
Yeah, like fantasy, part of the fantasy genre, which is not too far off base. So yeah, that was the original proposition for this episode. But we have a sleeper coming in the competition this week in our first triple pairing. There are 3 movies, ladies and gentlemen, playing at the exact same time this week. And Josh, will you tell us about option number C?
All right, so you guys aren't going to believe this. I mean, yeah, as you just said, we got a third option here. Who'd have thunk it? This one, since we're going along the food porn route, I don't know if I can say that on a podcast.
We're going to say it a lot.
Yeah. We'll say a foodie movie. We're bringing in an animated classic, since this thing's about to turn 20 years old, from one of my favorite directors ever. We are talking about good old Ratatouille, good old 2007, directed by the one, the only Brad Bird of Iron Giant, Incredibles fame, 2 personal favorites of mine. Of course, Ratatouille, we've seen it, you all know it, you all love it. Starring Remy the Rat, played perfectly by the Patton Oswalt. Who he's got dreams, guys, just like us. He wants to be a chef, and he's not going to let being a rat stop him. He starts seeing ghosts of famous chefs, or a famous chef. I don't know if it's a ghost. We'll get into that later on with Remy's mental health. As he's going along Paris, and he finds his way into one of the greatest kitchens in the world, and they're struggling a bit. But Remy is going to put his skills to the test through a very non-traditional vessel, that being taking over a human being.
Yeah, in a kinky roleplay kind of way.
Yeah, it's kind of like a
lot of hair pulling.
Yeah. Remy can control this guy named Linguini. Very creative name, I think. He can control this guy Linguini by, as Jeff said, yanking his hair all over the place. And boy, oh boy, does it create some wonderful, wonderful scenes for sure. Wonderful. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just a wonderful movie, guys. But yeah, that's Ratatouille.
And we had all seen Ratatouille.
Yes.
We'd better all seen Ratatouille.
Of course. Ratatouille is so like ingrained in the public consciousness. Like there was a direct, very heavily featured joke about it in Everything Everywhere All at Once a few years ago. That was like an Oscar-winning movie, Best Picture winner, where Michelle Yeoh's character confuses the rat for a raccoon, and she calls it Raccacoonie, and it's like about a raccoon who controls a chef. I don't know. It's like this movie is so acclaimed. A lot of people put it at the top of their Pixar filmography list.
Me included.
Yeah, it's got like a 4.2 on Letterboxd. It's got like a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, which is interesting because it's one of the few remaining standalone Pixar movies as well. But yeah, we get to talk about it this week, which is exciting. That was my doing. I wanted to do Chef and Ratatouille. I didn't know what Big Night was. And then I watched it and realized it's a great matchup. And I think, Tristan, maybe you can speak a little bit to why why pair these movies together. What's the first kind of thing that comes to your head when you hear these movies back to back?
The first thing that comes to mind, and I'd never seen Chef before, so getting into it and watching it, I was very pleased to see that the whole like theme of like art versus commercialism is prevalent in both films. Because in Big Night, you have Primo, played by Tony Shalhoub, who's like the chef at the restaurant, and he wants to make all these dishes that are authentic Italian cuisine that nobody, in the 1950s of New Jersey has like heard of or eaten, and everyone's like, "What the hell is all this?" But he wants to do it because it's true to his roots and it's true to his passions as a chef. And in Chef, you have like you were talking about Jon Favreau, who basically gets lambasted by a critic because he bowed to the wishes of his boss to make like a commercially palatable menu when he actually wanted to go all out. He wanted to experiment and stay true to his passions as a chef. So the first thing that stood out to me was, oh my God, this is a perfect pairing because it's like the exact same dilemma for both chefs. They go about it in completely different ways. There is no food truck in Big Night. There is no endless supply of capital that Jon Favreau's character seemed to have control of. Primo is not a world famous chef. He's not even getting reviewed because no one's paying attention.
Right. Yeah. Whereas you said earlier, Josh, Chef is like very much a feel good movie. Big Night, spoilers, is not that. It's very much about not necessarily like the limitations of your own creativity, but the limitations that I think the societal barriers that stifle creativity. And cooking is used as a metaphor for some pretty universal creative themes in this. I know Jon Favreau's stuff is a lot more specific to his situation in Chef. It's a lot more on the nose and thinly veiled. Whereas Big Night is, arguably a metaphor at all. It's very much about these brothers who just can't find an audience, even though we know now in 2025 and by 1996 when the movie came out that there is a public who want to eat this style of food. Is there in the 1950s? I wasn't alive back then, so I can't really say for sure.
Yeah, it took time, I think. So yeah, Big Night's about scraping by, whereas Chef is way more of like you're talking about a feel good. There's no scraping by in Chef. I mean, the worst thing that happens to Chef is that I call him Chef. His name is Carl. Chef Carl. The worst thing that happens to him is he has an embarrassing video on YouTube and he quits his job. But he has the opportunity to get a food truck and do all this stuff and be with his son, and his sous chef drops everything for him to go out across the country and everything. It's very much just like it is kind of fantastical. It sort of is like a fantasy, and Big Night is not that at all. They're in direct competition with an Italian restaurant across the street with a guy named Pascal, played by Ian Holm, and he is loud. He's boisterous. His restaurant is very Americanized. He's giving the people what they want, because he's a businessman, and that's what businessmen do. He's willing to compromise on his values because he's looking to make money. He's looking to stay in business, and yeah, very different from Primo and Segundo, first and second.
Yeah, and Big Night too focuses a lot on the fallacy of the American dream, I think, which is something that has been really prominent in movies of the past, I want to say 5-6 years. You had like Triangle of Sadness winning the Palme d'Or, which is very much an eat the rich type of movie. Whereas, a movie like Chef, he gets a food truck handed to him. Yeah, he has to clean it. He's got to scrub it clean with his son.
He has to spend all that father-son time bonding. It's so hard.
Oh, we have to go to Baton Rouge.
We gotta go to Miami and sell Cuban sandwiches. Yeah,
he gets the food truck from his ex-wife's ex-husband, who is in one scene played by Robert Downey Jr. is super eccentric, kind of gives it to him without questioning, and then by the end of it, his ex-wife, played by Sofia Vergara, also takes him back, which is just like he rebuilds his life because. Like money was never an issue.
No, money is a non-factor in Chef. It's more like the thing holding him back was always just himself. There's no like societal pressure really. I mean, there's I guess some economic pressure from his boss, who's like, if you want to stay employed here, you'll cook what I tell you to cook. But at the end of the day, he does subvert that. It's not really a big issue.
Right.
In Big Night, it's like. They literally who is it? It's Secundo, the Stanley Tucci character. He's like, I think we should take risotto off the menu because like what is it, arborio rice? It's too expensive and all this stuff. And Primo is just sitting there silent, and he's like, yeah, and I had an idea. We should put hot dogs on the menu instead. It's just like this American, like stupid food that you just, it's so cheap and and easy. So yeah, there's and Chef Carl, he's basically making hot dogs. Like that's basically what he ends up doing, which is great because hot dogs are great, and in this case it's sandwiches, Cuban sandwiches. They're great. But it is like a very different, in terms of that approach, it's a different for what I think Jon Favreau is going for. He's like, I want to kind of get laid back a little bit. I kind of want to get smaller scale, getting off Iron Man and everything. I think Stanley Tucci and Campbell Scott are a little more jaded during the 90s.
I get to touch people's lives with what I do. And it keeps me going, and I love it. And I think if you give it a shot, you might love it too.
Yes, sure.
Now, should we have served that sandwich?
No, Chef.
That's my son. Get back in there. We got some hungry people. He's ready to cook.
When you look at Primo's character, at the beginning of the movie, he comes off as certainly he can seem a little bit standoffish because he is that artist. He has integrity. He has that quote where he says, "You want me to make a sacrifice? If I sacrifice my work, it dies." And then he's loudly calling the grotto across the street like rape. He's screaming rape at this place because it's raping his culture. It's like Americanizing it to the point where it's unrecognizable. But there's an interesting thing that sort of happens with Primo's character by the end of the movie. That's comparable to Carl in Chef, because Primo never does sacrifice. He always cooks what he wants to, even though it's expensive. And the restaurant suffers, and by the end, it's very heavily, implicitly going to fail. But Primo seems like he's fine with the fact that he gave it all that he could. He's sort of, fine might be a stretch, but at the end of the day, I think he can sleep fine knowing he never compromised his morals, and he is fundamentally a happier person than his brother, who is very infatuated with more shiny things. He has 2 women who he's kind of like keeping on the side, and he doesn't want them to find out. He likes to go and rides in Cadillacs and dream about a future where he's a rich chef. And he ends the movie in a worse place than anybody because his dreams have been kind of shattered. By the end of Big Night, you find out that Pascal has not actually contacted Louis Prima, and he wanted it to fail so that he could hire the brothers, specifically Primo, because he's a great chef. So when the movie ends, they don't win, but they have each other, and it's that's kind of the point. Contrast that with Carl in Chef, who is also sleeping pretty well in a nice big feather bed next to Sofia Vergara at the end of the movie, because he learned how to be a good father and a good cook, and that's enough for him.
Isn't it just enough to be great at everything you do?
Right. To just always have money.
As long as you got money. Yeah.
And always have, all these opportunities being thrown your way constantly that anyone would kill for, and then go, nah, I don't really know if that's my... Yeah.
It's an easy target, and Chef is really a fun movie. It's very much a 2014 movie. When Josh and I watched it like 2 weeks ago in prep for this episode, I was just like, holy crap. I'm back at 2014. I'm hearing Amy Sedaris' voice. I heard the Iron Man 2 little power-up thing and the quick montage where Jon Favreau takes his son to the movies.
Scarlett Johansson had bangs.
Scarlett Johansson's there. It felt so much like 2014. Like it was a movie.
Twitter.
Yeah,
Twitter.
Yeah, it's just... it was like a time capsule of a movie. And the filmmaking techniques, too. It has a lot of montage edits, a lot of quick cuts. There's a lot of camera coverage. You see a lot of the food. It is a food porn movie, after all.
And it looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
It looks really good, and it's really fast-paced, and it's all right there. Big Night is a lot slower. It is a lot slower. It cost less money to make. It was a directorial debut from Tucci and Scott, who aren't really known for directing. They're both actors first. And Tucci also co-writes it with Joseph Tropiano, who's his cousin, and only has one other writing credit on like a 2004 TV movie called Just Desserts. So like, it seems like a very personal project to them. They want to inject a lot of their personal experience with food and some of their family traditions onto this movie. And they do it patiently, and they do it in a way where a lot of the shots linger very intentionally. There's a shot of Secundo's character towards the end of the movie where he sits down at a table after losing his mistresses and fighting with his brother, and it's just this long panning shot of a table, and the table just gets bigger and the seats feel more empty, and he's just sitting there at the head. There's a lot of intentionality there, a lot of more of a traditional filmmaking language, I would say, that this movie tries to employ.
Yeah, it almost feels like Jon Favreau's Chef is like kind of crash testing like early like TikTok, like really fast edits. Like it's almost for like it is for a modern audience. It is for like a kind of a social media brained audience. You look back at like the early 2010s, 2014 in particular, you were coming off the heels of the '08 financial crisis, and it was before Donald Trump. So there were a little bit of good vibes in there for a little bit, where it was like everyone was kind of getting into their like '80s, like, throwback nostalgia and everything, which is so antithetical to like the cynicism that would come like, in the 2020s and reflected in the '90s with Big Night. So totally different vibes, totally like not even considering the whole financial like aspect of the film, which is why it didn't resonate as much with me, because I was just watching it and I was like, this is great. But like, there's no struggle. There's no struggle here in Chef. It's just like a guy who has everything kind of handed to him, and he has kind of main character syndrome, I would say, which makes sense because he's played by Jon Favreau, he was written by Jon Favreau, he was directed by Jon Favreau. I think if you follow though, like the whole like the one-to-one parallel of this being like a reflection of Jon Favreau's life, like post Iron Man, where he's like, I was doing all this commercial stuff, and now I'm taking a break for me to make Chef, and it's my personal little thing, and it's going to be stay true to me. That's great. Then immediately he jumps back into the commercial sphere. So if that's the logic, this is like Carl at the end of Chef being like, "No, I'm ready to go work for Dustin Hoffman again, just make a bunch of volcano cakes and stuff like that." Like that's the logic that. If that's true, like I feel like Jon Favreau would have a little bit more self-awareness, but he did cast Scarlett Johansson as his girlfriend. So where are we?
Yeah, and like those studios are just going to hand him a blank check to get him back, and if you're going to completely skirt the object of money in your self-reflective narrative, then like I don't know, man. Maybe put something in there that acknowledges that Carl's not going to be able to sustain himself with a food truck or something like that. But that is completely absent. Also, everybody's paying with cash in 2014. That's the most inaccurate part.
That's how you know it's a science fiction film. Yeah. No, but that would just not be true to Jon Favreau's life. Like if there were some acknowledgement that money would be an issue, that's just not true for him. Like it's just not an issue for him. I genuinely think he just didn't think it was going to be an issue. And maybe there is a conscious effort there to just sort of be like, well, this is just going to be a feel-good movie, and I don't want to. But I really feel like he's just reflecting on his own life. So it never became an issue. Like Jon Favreau doesn't pay for anything. Like he doesn't have to pay for anything. He has people who pay for stuff for him,
Well, yeah, it's after he made it. And there's a parallel too where Stanley Tucci also co-directs, co-writes, and then directs himself in Big Night, but it's also before he's really anybody. It's very early. Stanley Tucci. The Tooch looks young, man.
But yes,
but I will has hair.
Yeah, he has hair. I will say Tucci also casts Minnie Driver and Isabella Rossellini as his lovers. So there is a parallel there with writer, director, actors like casting pretty women to hang off their shoulders and everything. But
I believe in Tucci's pull a little bit.
I believe in the Tucci pull, yeah. Although I will say when Carl's making that grilled cheese and he's making the spaghetti like aglio e olio and Scarlett Johansson just like watching him, I was like, this is so wish fulfillment, but also that food looks really f***ing good. Like I would probably be in the same position.
Yeah, and there's a lot of a lot of food, but these are the food movies. I mean, there's a couple more. Babette's Feast was like almost like the prototypical one, which comes out a few years before Big Night. A couple years ago, we got The Taste of Things, which takes these beautiful high-res cameras and does really slow movements. I think one of the first shots is just a camera floating around the kitchen in a oneer that really lets you absorb the process. And when Josh and I saw that in theaters, I was the only one of our group who had the foresight to buy popcorn, and they were picking on me the whole time. And then even movies like Pig, like Nicolas Cage's Pig, like his character is a chef and he makes anytime you portray a meal in a cinematic way, your senses are going to go nuts watching that. And that's part of the beauty of cooking movies. So even animated ones. Josh,
great segue.
I'm going to ask you specifically, where do you think Ratatouille falls into this conversation?
So here's the thing, like, one of you hadn't seen Big Night and one of you hadn't seen Chef. And I feel like if you, either of you had seen both, you would have realized Ratatouille doesn't belong in this conversation.
I disagree.
Not in terms of quality, but in terms of like what it's saying, because I really think that Big Night and Chef are just two sides of that coin. Which we already got heavily into. Also, I just want to honorably mention The Menu from a couple years back also belongs in this conversation, but that might be on the more Ratatouille side of things, especially in terms of food as an art and critique of said art.
Food absolutely is Remy's art. Remy is an artist, and Remy does deal with societal pushback. He can't cook for himself, and it's he has a very difficult time finding a way to do it. His family doesn't understand him.
Yeah, he comes from a culture where eating food is just something you do to survive. It's not, there's no like pleasure really to be taken in it.
Right. And that's where there's more of a direct parallel with cooking as a creative outlet, which is something much more, prominent in Chef, because it's Jon Favreau. It's just such a one-to-one comparison. I mean, it just is. I mean, like, God.
That's fair. That's fair.
It is, yeah. But there's also the Ian Holm connection. Ian Holm plays Skinner in Ratatouille, who's a force of evil. He
plays Pascal in Big Night.
He plays Pascal in Big Night, yeah. And there's a bit of a corporate slant, too, because Skinner wants to franchise Gusteau's restaurant, and Gusteau's has fallen out of favor because they're kind of just going through the motions as well. So there's that story happening, but it's less important than one individual's pursuit of their art form. Wouldn't you say?
Bravo.
Wow.
Bravo.
Wow. Just got to come off your stump there, pal.
There's also the fact that Jon Favreau looks like a rat.
Oh, no.
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
He's going to listen to this episode.
He looks like another type of rodent.
They're going to start sending it his way, and then he's going to be like, how do I get on Twitter again? And then they're going to have to explain X to him, and that's going to be a whole different joke, and then Chef 2's on the way.
Chef
I have to say, I am pleased that the whole like Chef thing, like with the critic, I thought it was just going to be like, critics suck, like, critics. But at the end of the movie, the critic's like, no, I really liked your stuff. I just hold you to a high standard. Like, I feel like there's like no bad guy in Chef, not even his ex-wife's ex-husband. Like, they're all just like people. That's how much of a feel-good movie it is. There can't be a bad guy, because then that would mean conflict. And
the biggest bad guy I would say is Dustin Hoffman's character, who's
true. That's
very
true.
one note, just putting down Favreau's. I guess I should call him Carl. Anytime Carl wants to express himself,
it's Favreau.
Dustin Hoffman's like, no, you can't. This is my protest. You got to stick to the menu. And then there's Oliver Platt, who plays Carmi's generous uncle, funding his culinary pipe dream. I mean, food critic. I got this confused with the bear. I was thinking about the bear a lot when I was watching this. The presence of Oliver Platt too is just, it just directly connotes the show that would take food porn and make you so anxious about it in the 2020s. But yeah, and that's also a show that's cut very quickly and for a modern audience.
Chef is like so produced, like it's so maybe overproduced. And Big Night is like, you don't need to get in on this necessarily. You can just watch us eat it and watch us cook it and sort of get the feeling of it, because in real life, no one is actually like right there, right in their face, like in the food, just looking at it. You know what I mean? So it feels a little more realistic, I feel like, in that way. It doesn't glamorize food, but it is very much like acknowledging how important it is and how delicious it is.
Yeah, and there's an aspect of cooking and food too, where like the philosophies of the characters kind of reflect, I think, the industry of food as well, because Pascal, Ian Holm's character, his whole philosophy is there's never too much. There is only not enough, which is just like a, eat, consume.
Yes.
We're going to sell, and make room, save room, vomit if you have to and keep eating. That's kind of like the American aspect of it versus Primo, who's very intentional and very, wants the best ingredients. He wants to make sure he's cooking the best meal for every customer.
Although he does serve a lot of food, I will say that.
He does. When they're aware that it's an all or nothing kind of thing, they're all in and they can cook. They can absolutely cook.
Let them cook.
There's also a similar scene in Chef where Carl's son burns a sandwich and wants to serve it. And Chef pulls him aside and he says, should we have served that sandwich? And he's like, no. there's like a whole angle in Chef where the internet plays a big part of it. Like his son is his social media manager. He's also the kind of character that is bad representation for social media managers, because nobody takes them seriously as an actual profession when you have a movie where someone's kid is just chronically online and somehow a marketing genius that's lining up streets. It's a very simplified interpretation of that. But yeah, he's like watching random crap on his phone, and like Carl gets canceled basically, and it kind of plays with those themes, but it doesn't necessarily take them anywhere, you know?
Yeah, it's a little bit set dressing, but it's also a little bit like definitely reflective of Jon Favreau's life, where he is like a very prominent director of like the biggest movie franchise ever, and he's interacting with like stan culture, like the fandoms online and everything, and he's just like he's very aware of it. So that aspect of his life just bled over. Because I'm not saying there isn't like a big like food presence online, like people who care and are interacting, but it's I don't know. It's probably not as like intense as like the Marvel fandom or like the Star Wars fandom, where people are like sending death threats and stuff like that. If he incorporated that into the movie, it would be a very different movie. But what's notable about Carl and Chef is that he honestly doesn't spend a lot of time online. I mean, the whole reason he gets into a fight with the food critic is he thinks he's sending him a private message, or he's basically just like you, and instead he posts it on Twitter for everybody to see. And then after that, his son just manages the social media, which is borderline irresponsible nowadays. It probably was back then, because who knows what that poor child is exposed to. Especially if it were X, like if it had changed to X and it was just like all the, Elon Musk is running it. So yeah, there is that aspect of it. It is not like super directly engaging with it. Like I think it could have more to say, obviously, and especially in retrospect, like 10 years later, like social media is so dominant in our lives and in like just the pop culture, the consciousness. Like everybody just interacts with it and it colors everything for the worse, I feel like. And in this movie, it's like, no, Twitter's great. All you got to do is like take a picture of your food truck that's like perfectly like framed and like almost color corrected photograph of the food truck and all the food and everything, and just post it on Twitter, and everybody's going to line up down the block.
There's almost this aspect of like it's great when you use it like the correct way, because there's also instances where like that one cop tries to take a picture with him, and that scene just like drags on forever, and it's like awkward, and he's trying to get like clout online, and it's supposed to kind of make you feel uncomfortable, I think. There's also like a scene where the kid's just like watching a video of a cat like shooting a machine gun. I don't know. It's such a like, it feels like Favreau's understanding of the internet in 2014 is a very much like a bumbling dad.
Yes.
And Chef is a dad movie, man. It is such a dad movie. There's like lines like, "You'll never have your first beignet ever again," and that's like such a dad. Like my dad loves Cajun food. He took me to New Orleans when I was in high school, and he probably said that exact thing to me. It's like that kind of. And beignets are great. Don't get me wrong, but like the sentence.
We're not anti-beignet here.
No. But saying you'll never have your first beignet ever again, while technically true, I don't think is a statement that I'm going to grasp the same weight of as you.
Eat it slow. Never going to have your first beignet ever again.
Very cool.
It's cool, right? You like it? Mm-hmm. They don't taste like it's anywhere else in the world.
So there's a couple instances in Big Night where they talk about God. So I feel like maybe we should talk a little bit about that.
You want to talk about God?
So I think it's Primo who says to eat good food is to be close to God. He also says the knowledge of God is the bread of angels. I think he's saying that when he's like flirting with the flower lady, and she's like, "What does that mean?" He's like, "I have no idea."
Oh yeah. That's a really good scene.
It is a good scene. It's really great. Here is this is a Hail Mary ass pull. The antagonist of Big Night is basically Ian Holm's character Pascal. And this is just like from college, I was a philosophy minor, and we learned about this thing called Pascal's wager. And so whenever I hear Pascal, I just instantly think about it. I was thinking about Pascal's wager, which is basically like it's better to believe in God because if you don't, you might go to hell. And the whole thing is you're weighing an infinite reward for a like horrible punishment. And Pascal's wager in this movie is basically like you need to give the customer what they want and not what they need because it's better to basically achieve like the peak capitalist status by being a business owner and making a shit ton of money and all this stuff than it is to sink into the depths of artistic, whatever malaise. Like you're not even making anything. I feel like there's like an actual like, and it kind of feels like he's a little bit of a I don't know, he's sort of a Luciferian agent, the way he like sets up this whole big night where he's like, yeah, I'm going to send Louis Prima your way. It's going to be great. But at the end of the day, he really just wants them. He wants to collect them. He wants to collect their souls.
Yeah, he wants to own
use.
them.
Yeah, exactly. And so I feel like there is a very like, there is sort of a Christian, there's some thematics going on there that I think are reflective of Christianity. Another one, and this may be another giant ass pull from me, which I do all the time. We start the movie with the guy Cristiano, played by Mark Anthony. I think that's his name. He's like he's like a famous person. I don't know who he is because I'm not like that great at stuff like that. But it starts the movie with him. He's smoking his little cigarette and everything, and then he comes inside. The guy barely says anything. He is basically their like I don't know what you would say. He's like their waiter, their busboy. Like he does all the other tasks. Mm-hmm. Cristiano, like Christ. Like and you think about this, and here's the thing. Like
I'm not laughing at you, by the way.
No, I understand. This is my Jordan Peterson like rant. Where I'm just like, you got to think about like the themes and the archetypes. You think about like Cristiano, Christ. He is a sacrificial lamb in a lot of ways because he is the employee of these brothers. He is the one. He's making less than them. If if the business shuts down, he stands to lose the most because he already is starting from a worse spot than the business owners. But he just does what he does. He does his job. He does not complain. He is just there. But I feel like in a lot of ways, he's almost like an audience surrogate. He's almost like the person that you're like always looking at in the scenes. You're like watching him go around and you're like, that guy is interesting. I want to know more about him.
Yeah. And
you're just always looking toward him. Let's do another little thing where it's like the Trinity, right? You have the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, right? Ooh. I feel like for sure, the father is Secundo because he is the business owner. He's the one kind of managing all the expenses. He's doing the logistics. He's the father. He's the patriarch of this business. And the Holy Spirit, of course, is Primo, who embodies the spirit of cooking as an art form, as a purely spiritual thing. Mm. And he talks about food like it's the spiritual, spiritually uplifting act. So I was watching the movie and I was
wait a minute,
connecting these dots.
Oh my god!
And Pinocchio looks up at the stars. And
you're saying that this movie is about the death of Christianity?
Yeah, a little bit, maybe. It's about
the business goes under. I mean, no matter.
It's an impressive pool. I'll give you that.
That's another thing. That's another thing, though. Okay, so this whole movie's about scraping by. It's something I said earlier, and you keep saying that the business goes under, and that might be true. We don't actually know. Right. There is no resolution. We know that it's the morning. We start the movie off in the morning with Cristiano smoking a cigarette out by the pier, and then coming inside, and he leaves the kitchen when Primo and Secundo meet and sort of, have their silent omelet together. He leaves to go somewhere, probably outside to take a smoke, right? He just ate. Something you do a lot after, you eat. To me, the film is almost like a Mobius strip where it's sort of circling back in on itself. It's cyclical because, yes, maybe the business does end, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe they keep scraping by. Because that's what it means to be an artist. To be someone who sticks to their values in a world that doesn't want you to do that. You keep scraping by. It's cyclical. And I feel like that's also super reflective of food. I mean, food is a cyclical thing. We have to eat always. It's always that, it's always something we got to do. It's just part of the reason I really love Big Night. I feel like there are a lot of, and it might just be, like I said, big ass pull for me. But that's genuinely what I get from the movie. I feel like it is kind of diving into these rich thematic subtext. And you look at Chef, and I'm like, he's married to Sofia Vergara at the end of the movie. John Favreau
is the father. And Robert Downey Jr. is God because he's their Cristiano who doesn't let him fail. He's always there, silently supporting them. Except he's doing it with money.
Well, the son, the son is Jesus, obviously.
The son is
because he has to sacrifice the son. At the end. No,
yeah. Jesus would watch like videos of cats shooting machine guns on his phone. It's that kind of thing. No, I think that makes an interesting thing too, where you look at Pascal, who's like he's got those sort of embodiment of a lot of the sins, like especially the 7 deadlies. He's proud, he's gluttonous.
Yes, greedy.
And so he's kind of like, but he's thriving. And that's sort of like the bastardization of the Christian values in America is definitely applicable in this scenario. I mean, if you want to pull on those threads, which I'm really happy that you are, because to me, they make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Especially the way, like, you don't think too much about Cristiano as a character, but the way that they block him is very kinetic, and you're always noticing him. He's always in the scene. I really like that thread that you're pulling on right there. I think that adds a lot of depth to it as well. And
I think so. And setting it in the 1950s, I feel like is significant. The 1950s are so romanticized, particularly by white Americans. And, there was a time when, nowadays we think of Italian Americans as white. That's not really an issue. But, I mean, there was a time when Italian Americans weren't considered white. They were considered outsiders, something less than white. And this is a movie about Italian Americans coming to America, or Italians coming to America in the 1950s, which also happens to be a time where, evangelical Christianity is kind of getting started, and it's very puritanical and all that stuff. And this movie's just like looking at that, taking a microscope to that era and just being like, this is all bullshit. And it's doing it in a way that I feel like is maybe a little ahead of its time. I know the 90s are kind of jaded. They are. It's like the end of history and everything. Berlin Wall's fallen down. There's nothing left but capitalism, and that's our reality. But nowadays, we have movies that are very critical of capitalism, and this isn't the end of history. We're living in history right now. We have lived through many historical events in our lives, in our short lives. And I feel like for that reason, Big Night is almost ahead of its time. I think it's a movie that plays better now, which may explain why it wasn't such a big hit in the 90s. It, made its money back, but I feel like it's become more of a cult classic, and I feel like it definitely deserves to be repped more. I think it's got a lot of timeliness to it.
And it's got a lot to say, too, I would say, even if you don't pull on those Christian-specific threads. Like, the immigrant story is very, very relevant today, and so is, like, the earnestness and the sort of desperation that a lot of people cling to meaning in a very cynical age in the 2020s. Like you're saying, the similar cynicism between the 2020s and the 1990s. We have come back around. We have looped back around to this point. And it is saying a lot. Now I'm thinking about, like, if Remy the rat is God and Gusteau is the Holy Spirit, and kind of he's got the Bible that Remy is carrying out in his recipes, and Linguini is sort of his vessel.
I think Linguini is Jesus. I think Remy is actually the Holy Spirit, and I think Gusteau was God. Yeah, or is
I was
God.
thinking. I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was thinking more of Remy as like an allegory for like Joan of Arc.
Well, Joan of Arc. She sacrificed for what she believed in, and she went, without any complaints. So
Remy had a better ending, I guess.
Yeah, there's that poster where he's like surrounded by the knives, and it says he's dying to be a chef. Yeah, Remy's a martyr from a certain point of view.
Maybe all artists are martyrs in a system that hates them. Maybe that's
like Jon Favreau,
and his food truck.
You know what they say? To know God, to have the knowing.
Knowledge.
See, the knowledge of God is the bread of angels. I'm never sure what that means, but it's true anyway.
Let's do some questions.
All right. Josh, why don't we go ahead and start with you, since you've had some time to prepare?
Oh, yeah, so much time to prepare. Greatly appreciate that. My first question for you, we'll lay it back. Take this back to the mid-2000s. I think still running till now. a good old Food Network staple. Which restaurant would provide the best episode of diners, drive-ins, and dives? And please explain why. Mainly because I want to know how these interactions between Guy Fieri or Fieri, however it's said, and these main characters are going to go.
I feel like Guy Fieri in real life is a lot like the character of Carl, and I think seeing the two of them interact would just be like, I think the timelines would become unstable and things would start to fall apart.
I'm honestly surprised there wasn't a cameo in Chef of
know,
him
right.
coming to the food truck.
Because that would have been timeless, and this movie had to be specifically dated to 2014. No, I think it would be great to see him at Gusteau's, eventually reopened as Ratatouille, where he's just like, yeah, so you let the rats make this food? That's pretty cool. Let me see that little guy under the hat. And then there's a shot of him like with a rat on his head, and he's like, look at my hands, I can't even feel them. Like something like that.
You're not going to believe this one, folks. We found in Paris today.
Objectively, that would be the best.
Yeah.
That's the correct answer, right?
He just gets the big night, and Tony Shalhoub's just like mad dogging him the entire time from the back of the kitchen.
I would actually like to see interactions between Guy Fieri and Tony Shalhoub's Primo, where he's just like, just putting him down. Every time Guy Fieri says something, he's like, no, that's incorrect. And he's like, oh no.
Segundo's like trying to like save face. He's like, no, what he means is
that would basically be an episode of The Bear, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that an answer for both of us, basically?
Yeah, you basically because
we went through all three possibilities.
Yeah, it has to be Ratatouille. Like, it's a f***ing rat like running the restaurant. Of course, that's the most interesting.
Yeah,
That's
objectively.
Yeah, Anthony Bourdain like going to the Ratatouille restaurant, just being like, he's like, you know what, I'm open to anything at this point.
Like, I've been to a lot of places. I've eaten a lot of food. I've never eaten a meal cooked by a rat. So let's give it a go.
I've eaten rats, but I've never eaten a meal cooked by a rat.
All right, Tristan, you want to get next?
Yeah, I can go. If you had to cast a famous actress as your own girlfriend and ex-wife in a movie, who would you cast and why?
So it's basically like, who's your celebrity crush?
Well, no, you can choose whoever. I mean, you don't have to say because they're hot, you like them. You could just be like, I like their personality or something.
Yeah.
Selena Gomez because she's hot.
What if Jon Favreau now made this movie and cast Sydney Sweeney as his
Oh my
girlfriend?
God.
It's kind of like the exact...
His ex-wife.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
You would.
I think Dakota Johnson's kind of popping off right now, so let's say Dakota Johnson can be... Josh and I just watched Materialists.
Mm-hmm.
She'd make good ex-wife material, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Josh?
So of course I would, I'll tie this into what we were saying earlier, since you guys are going to spin it that I'm here because of my acting. I would say I want the person, the actress that I would have the most chemistry with to make the scene the best it could possibly be. And for that reason, I guess I would go with, I'm trying to think of someone who's like remotely in my age range.
Joey King.
Oh God, no. I'm sorry, Joey King, if you're listening. I know you're not, but
Might be.
it's a very popular answer, but I think maybe this is hopeful me. Maybe I'm really shooting for the stars here. I would have Florence Pugh. Because she's a phenomenal. I see what you guys are looking at right now. I see you guys give me that look. I think she would play it really fun and really cool. And shut up, okay?
Yeah, it goes along with her philosophy post Midsummer, where she just gets to phone it in because she never wants to have a heavy lifting role ever.
Whoa!
Oh, sorry. No, you're right. Sofia Vergara was doing some heavy lifting.
Oh my God! I didn't say it's my ex-wife or it. No, come on. That's Zendaya.
It didn't work out with Zendaya.
Tristan, who are you going to cast?
Emma Watson because she's hot.
Oh, come on.
All right, Jeff, your next question.
Okay, yeah. So, our scheduling inept theater in the podcast Hard Ticket, which you are listening to now, is putting on a 4D experience for each of these movies, which means you will be served one meal in the theater, no matter which one you see. For Ratatouille, you'll be served the titular tui. For Chef, a Cuban sandwich with yuca fries. And for Big Night, a slice of the family timpano. Which theater meal experience is your mouth watering for?
God, I haven't had dinner yet, so I'm hungry. So this is a good question. In the spirit of trying something new, I think I would try the Ratatouille, because I've never had it before, and also it was made by a rat, and there's a novelty to that. Right? Is it made by a rat, like in the theater?
It's made by minimum wage theater employees.
Is one of them a rat?
I guess
Might be controlled by a rat.
Yeah.
Is one of them a rodent of any kind, or is it just...
I guess that's kind of a risk you're going to have to take with this one.
Let's throw it in the microwave, Tristan. Come on.
All right, I'll go with the timpano, probably. Yeah,
Okay. All right. Josh?
I need something light if I'm watching a movie. I don't want to be distracted by the meal the whole time. I want it to like add to the experience, and I think the Cuban would be the best sort of like it's like a little flair. It's like a little extra that makes the experience just all that much better. If I'm trying to eat, like don't get me wrong, those other two dishes are absolutely outstanding and they look amazing. If anything, honestly, in the three movies, I'd go for Favreau's grilled cheese. Because that thing just looks outstanding.
Well, that's not an option.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's why I'm going with the Cuban, okay?
Yeah.
Cheese, okay, fine. Why don't you go shit on all of my answers here? You don't want Florence Pugh? You don't want my grilled cheese?
No.
Fine.
That's my answer too. I would also eat the
Florence
Cuban.
Pugh and grilled cheese.
I'll have what he's having. No, I mean, you're sitting in a theater. You don't want to be eating like a big bowl of pasta, like, or something that you need a plate for.
Yeah, it's going to make me sleepy.
Yeah, but what if you're at like an Alamo, like you have like the little thing in front of you, like a little desk? What do they call that? Or
a tray?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, the yuca fries alone. You guys ever had yuca fries? They're really good.
What's a yuca fry?
It's a different type of fry, not made from a potato. It's made from a yuca. A yuca.
What's a yuca? We can just move on.
Nothing. What's the?
That's one of my questions. What's a yuca?
My second question of three. Kind of a no-brainer here. If you're a health inspector, you guys are shutting down Ratatouille, right? Right?
Am I a cartoon health inspector or like a real health inspector?
Yes. You would shut down Ratatouille, right?
Well, I mean, let's not jump to any conclusions here.
I'm jumping.
all of these rats are sanitizing themselves before they handle the food. I mean, and if the rat is using somebody's head to operate, that's even better. So if they don't directly touch the food, then I can't necessarily dock it points, right? Especially if the rats stay out of sight, they're under the hat, I can just kind of turn a blind eye, and if the food is really good, I can give it a pass.
So you're willing to put the public's health and safety at risk?
No, they're sanitized. You wash the rats. Every day you wash the rats.
Isn't this how like the plague got started from rats?
They didn't wash the rats during the plague. And the rats
they forgot to wash the rats. They're coming off the boats. Oh, we didn't wash those guys.
You wanted to wash them before or after?
They're just watching them like go off in the horizon. They're like, you guys remember to wash the rats, right? Jimmy.
They look over at a full container of rat soap and they're like, oh, fuck.
Please tell me we overpacked.
The logistics of washing all the rats in Europe during the Middle Ages. All right, my next question. What would Big Night be like if it took place in the age of social media? And there are a couple different eras of social media. There are tons of platforms. So feel free to get creative and decide on an era or platform. We'll go with you, Jeff.
I think probably around the time of Chef, so I'm going to say like 2010s. there was a huge upswing in like foodie culture. That's when Instagram was probably its biggest in the early 2010s. And I think people really developed a taste for that authentic stuff. And, there's the rise of hipsters and, hipster millennials who are taking more pictures of their food than they actually end up eating. And I think that's when it would thrive. I think now audiences and consumers are a lot more entitled. And we might be circling back around to that couple you see at the beginning of the movie who's like, what is risotto? And why doesn't it come with a side of spaghetti? Like, those are the Olive Garden people.
yeah, there you go. Where's my infinite breadsticks?
Hey, I'm one of those people.
So late 2000s, early 2010s, it would do well. It would thrive.
Okay, so Primo and Segundo's place is sort of like a hipster hideaway, basically. Little hole-in-the-wall place on the Jersey Shore that you go to because you saw it on Instagram.
Right, and there's a microbrewery right next to
it. Nice. I love it. Josh?
Yeah.
Oh, God, I want to be an optimist here, but I think the pessimist in me is saying it probably goes the same way.
When?
I mean,
damn.
And any time, I'm like, with how hard it is to watch a lot of these businesses get a foot in the door and last. Like, it doesn't matter, like, especially these small, like, own ma and pa shops, like, unfortunately, especially nowadays, like, they aren't going to, like, gain any traction no matter, like, what's posted on social media. It might get a little buzz for a year. All the old people in the area might go and show up and say, meh. And then, like, has it really changed, guys?
It's all about how you market it. All you need to do is have a son, make sure he's chronically online, and then have him manage your entire marketing campaign for your restaurant. And
we see that Primo and Tooch can't hold a woman to save their lives. So, like, well, Primo probably can. But, like...
Yeah, he's got Riz.
Secundo had a little more than he bit off more than... His hands were a little too... well, you know what I mean.
What does Ian Holmes say? You have to bite life by the ass.
Oh my God. No, sorry, that's my pessimistic answer. I really worry about those guys.
Well, Josh says they're doomed no matter what, and I say they have a fighting chance. So I guess we're just fundamentally different people.
Well, I was going to say, I'm imagining, like, Big Night in the age of TikTok and, like, Primo doing, like, TikTok. He's flossing. He's, like, flossing for Secundo.
You know,
is there a TikTok or a Fortnite dance or something?
No, he wouldn't be doing it. It would be Secundo who's using AI to make his likeness flawless.
Yeah. No, he went on ChatGPT to look for authentic Italian recipes, and he like presents them to Primo. He's like, "These are all shit. They all suck." This one says to put a brick in it. Like,
yeah, no, I like that. Having it happen now, who knows? We are living in a volatile age.
Optimistically.
So,
God.
Okay. It seems like cooking is a good metaphor for artistic creativity, and it translates beautifully to film. So can you guys give me another outlet that you believe translates the same themes well in film, and one outlet that you believe absolutely does not? Let's start with you, Josh.
Oh, God. So, yeah, so we see food's a great... I mean, it's anything with creativity. And food, like... Yeah, food, I feel like, is just the perfect answer. But, I mean, I'm trying to think of other occupations that could... Like, I would, like... You could obviously put, like woodwork in there. Especially,
yeah.
Like, do we have any, like, carpenter movies? Honestly, like of a guy like building a house and like
no, we don't. But the Jesus
like,
parallels right.
Literally, I was literally to say Passion of the Christ.
But yeah, I mean, like have a movie about like a guy building a house and how all these people keep coming in and telling him how he has to build it, and then like
I like that
gets like torn apart or like burns down, like all this. It's honestly anything, any movie or like any sort of allegory that involves just so much pain and turmoil into a creation.
Right.
I mean, like Phantom Thread, I think is another good allegory for that.
Oh, yeah, that is a good one. That's a really good one.
So, and I don't want to step on anybody else's answer, so I would say a version that is not a good outlet for that sort of does not translate over well. I'm gonna go with. Let's go with like sailing. Like
Sailing?
yacht, like yacht sailing.
Oh, I see.
Like
instead of a food truck, Robert Downey Jr. buys Jon Favreau a yacht, and he's just listening to like dad rock the whole time.
Yeah, and once again, there's no struggle. There's nothing in it. It's like you were given this boat, and you're just riding around in it. Oh no, the wind got a little tough one day.
Right, he lets his son sail it. Yeah, no, it's great. I could see that. Tristan, what about you? What do you think?
I read your question before we recorded, and my first thought was architecture. I was thinking about like building stuff, but I do think architecture is like an art. And I was like, I had this like when I read your question, I immediately went to Google and I was like, is cooking an art? I was like confused, because like I kind of consider it an art form, but it's also like a science. And I found this article that was like, cooking is not an art, it's a craft, which apparently there's a distinction. I don't necessarily know what that distinction is. I think the way the person was writing about it was like a craft like falls within these certain parameters that can be judged objectively, and art is all subjective. But I also think that art there's like mediums in art, and your media has parameters. Like if you say you're making pottery and you draw a picture, you've objectively not made pottery, you've made a painting or whatever. So I think the distinction might be meaningless. I do think cooking is probably art. So I don't think that it's necessarily a metaphor. I think it's just it is art. I think it's a metaphor maybe for other artistic ventures. The other thing that came to mind was there's this movie, A River Runs Through It. I think it's also adapted from a book. I actually have it on my shelf here. I haven't read it. But there's like fly fishing and stuff. And I was thinking about fly fishing and thinking about the people who make fishing rods and make lures and stuff like that. And I grew up fishing a fair bit as a kid. Learned to fly fish. My great grandpa taught me. Still alive, 98 years old. I think he still fly fishes for trout, actually, in southern West Virginia. So I think that's sort of what is sort of leaping out to my mind. I would love to see a movie that was just about a fly fisherman who was making his fly rods and making the lures and everything like that. And I don't know what the the commercial thing would be. I mean, people use radar to find fish nowadays, right? Like they use radar. They'll use dynamite to blow fish out of the water. Like there's like definitely like a very dumb, inelegant, and like kind of like you're cheating way of fishing. And I feel like the fly fisherman is somebody who is doing it in a more graceful and true to the form way of doing it. A bad representation, I don't really have anything off the top of my head. I'm just thinking of like people who have weird like talents, like a weird like like my craft is Rubik's cubes. Like I'm really good at solving Rubik's cubes. And but I'm just like, that probably doesn't. I think because it doesn't pan out, that probably is what you're looking for. But we'll just turn it over to you. What do you got?
I think I've met people who actually have entered latte foam art competitions, and there's like a whole world of that. And it's pretty common whenever you get like a fancy coffee for someone to make like a heart or like a little shape or something on the top of it. But like there's a whole subculture of latte foam art that I think would be really interesting to kind of just shine give a vignette to.
Yeah, short film. Make it a short film.
Make it a short. I don't want to watch that whole thing. Just make it like 5-10 minutes.
It doesn't need to be feature length.
I don't need to hear the struggles of these characters. Just show me this.
For something that you don't want to see translated to film, probably like, I don't know, like smearing poop on a wall.
I kid you not. I literally thought that, and I was like, that's not even a craft. I can't even say that.
I had a feeling that we had the exact same thought when you read that question. I had to prove it by saying it out loud and seeing.
That's absolutely insane. That is, I gotta write that down because I started doing this. This is a total tangent. I started doing this thing where I write down the synchronicities, which are basically like coincidences that like have some sort of significance in your life. So I'm gonna write that one down because that one's funny.
Yeah, no. Well, I think it just shows that we needed to start a podcast together.
Yeah, that's so funny. I literally was like smearing poop on a wall, but I was like, you can't say that because it's not at all like an art or a craft.
We're going to get some angry comments about that now.
Yeah,
who says it's not a craft?
Okay, next question.
Okay, years ago, I made Jeff and I cricket cookies, which are cookies that have crickets in them. Will there ever be a time when food porn comes around to bugs? And what does that movie look like?
It looks like the one sequence from The Lion King where Timon and Pumbaa teach Simba how to eat insects.
And it looks delicious.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're like slurping up worms like noodles and stuff like that. I mean, like, it's not too far off. I don't know if I understand your question entirely. That's just kind of the first thing that comes to mind when you pose it.
I'm just thinking like, okay, so like Big Night and Ratatouille and Chef, they're showing food that is like, everybody would just be like, that looks delicious. But there are definitely cultural barriers to certain types of food that other cultures love. Like, bugs. Like bugs are not popular in the West, but except for unless you're eating like lobster or you're eating, crawfish or whatever, which are bugs. They're like just water bugs. But we made cricket cookies, and
you made cricket cookies that completely melted.
They melted. I kind of messed up the recipe. I had this phase where I could not make cookies. I have gotten better, and I can make cookies now, but
they are really good now. It was all worth it.
It took a couple of years. You had to sit through the cricket cookie fiasco. But I'm just imagining, like, what would it be like if we got to a point where, like, transport yourself like 100, 200 years in the future where, like, insects are part of the daily palate of people, and you're watching a movie like Big Night or Chef. You're watching a movie like Chef. They start a food truck where they're, like, serving up, like, caramelized crickets or something like that. Like, what is... Are you watching this movie? Are you going to the theater to watch this, or are you just you can't even stomach it?
There's a whole movie called How to Eat Fried Worms that I did not watch. I think if you shoot it in a way that they shoot everything in Chef, but you just replace the Cubans with bugs.
Like a scorpion on a stick.
Yeah, I think you could do it. I would watch that movie. Yeah.
If you get someone passionately speaking about it and making it sound good, absolutely.
Okay.
Sure.
I mean,
you guys would try. You would try that sort of cuisine.
If someone did it for me,
I think. Yeah, if Oliver Platt gives it a good review, he's like, I'm gonna fund this restaurant. Then yeah, I can't say no.
I'm down. Yeah, I'm down to try it.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Josh, what do you got next?
All right, final question. You guys know what it is. Which I'm sorry, I didn't know the Walk of Life project existed in this podcast as well. So I'm going to trample all over it for a quick second. If you could insert the Pet Shop Boys version of Always on My Mind into any scene from any of these 3 movies, which scene would you choose? Now, Tristan, did you actually listen to the song?
No.
We put it in the group chat, Tristan.
I didn't know. I must have missed that message.
Tristan!
I'm sorry. It is in the group chat. That's true.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were going to ask it, though.
You had sufficient reason to believe that this question could come up.
I would probably put it during the scene where Jon Favreau is making food for Scarlett Johansson, because it sounds like it's a romantic song.
Sorry, buddy. I don't think that's the right answer. I don't think that's the right answer. Would you agree, Jeff?
No,
it's not a romantic.
Well, I think it has to be in Chef. It's an upbeat song, and it's like there's so many montages in that movie. You can absolutely make a cooking montage. They're singing sexual healing while they're driving the El Jefe, while they're rubbing cornstarch on their balls. Like it definitely translates to this movie. So I think, you think it's in one of the other ones, or you think it's in like Ratatouille or something?
All I'm saying is the Pet Shop Boys were huge in France, fellas. And I think it definitely fits into maybe the end of Ratatouille, or one of the busy scenes of Ratatouille. Or they're all just cooking, all the rats where they're all going through the washer, sanitizing themselves. And it's perfect, like symmetry between the song and the scene. But, I mean, yeah, you could easily put it in like as a montage in a background of Chef if you're Jon Favreau. But, that's not me. And I think I want to use it a little more experimentally here.
All right.
Instead of, but yeah, why don't you give it a listen sometime, Tristan?
Okay.
You have a link to it.
You have
You
one.
know where to find it.
All
Tristan, please never listen to it.
right. I'll continue to not listen to it.
It's a good song.
It's a great song.
Okay, so my final question is, what is the go-to fast food choice for the three main chefs? Remy, Carl, and Primo. We'll start with you, Tristan.
Remy is definitely eating at Taco Bell, right? Because when
Really?
I feel like because I feel like when I eat at Taco Bell, I kind of feel like a little rat. I feel like he would definitely be going to town on like a quesadilla or some nachos or something.
But Remy doesn't feel like a rat. You know, he's the one rat who doesn't identify with that
a lot of
aspect
cheese.
of rat culture. It is a lot of cheese, though. Yeah.
He's a rat. I know I don't.
I
don't know what
digress.
to say, yeah.
Now, I brought this question up to my girlfriend before we started recording, and she says that he'd probably be picky about the fries and would want like potato skins on his fries, and she said for that reason Wendy's would probably be a choice of his.
You can tell Em I disagree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Josh, what do you think?
Oh, dang. Taco Bell is just a perfect answer, not going to lie. All the cheese and a lot of bang for your buck. I mean, where can you go wrong?
He's in Paris.
He's thrifty. Remy's very thrifty.
Oh, what, to get a Taco Bell in Paris? I'm sorry.
Well, you know, just
You brought up this question.
they don't even have French fries at Taco Bell. They have nacho fries.
Why do we all just automatically assume Remy wants fries? Where did this come from?
He lives in France.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
All right, I'll leave the room. All right, I'm sorry, guys. You know what? Let's move on to Carl. Where's Carl getting his fast food?
Carl's gonna be a pretentious guy, and then be like, "All right, let's go get a Big Mac." I mean,
Yeah, it's like his kettle corn like thing at the beginning where he's like, it's just carbs covered with sugar, and then he's like eating it in the next scene. They smash cut to him eating it. He's like, let's go get a Big Mac.
yeah.
I think he's going to Arby's 'cause they have the meats. And
The
he's
place
like,
worse than McDonald's.
he's always looking for the meats. He's like hunting down like where to get the best brisket, and he's like, "Yeah, you should have tried sandwich I had at Arby's today."
You see this? He's like dangling it in front of the camera. Look how bad that is. Would you eat that? No,
treats
you
his
wouldn't.
kid like a cat.
Shoves it into his mouth.
I think Arby's.
I was literally like looking at the question, and the first thought that came to mind was Carl's Jr. because his name's Carl. It's like, yeah, he probably eating Carl's Jr. because
That's what I thought too, buddy.
dude, we're like, that's
Right.
another one. I'm writing that one down. That's crazy.
All right, Primo, last one. Where's he getting his fast food?
It's tough. It's tough. I mean, Italian restaurants are like super big in America, but I feel like he would hate them. He would hate them all. Like I can't say
Yeah.
like Panera Bread. Like he wouldn't. He'd be like,
You
this
wouldn't see him
shit's-
at like a Fazoli's.
I feel like
No,
I
he'd
feel
be
like
this shit sucks.
the only reason he would go somewhere is to try something entirely different, like American cuisine.
He
I
would
don't
go to, like
feel
a
like-
hibachi or something like that.
Yeah, but we're talking fast food here, Tristan.
Panda Express. Primo goes to Panda Express.
He goes to the gas station to get some sushi. All right, you have a hard ticket to pick between three movies. Three movies this week. We got Ratatouille, Big Night, and Chef, the Big Rat Chef. Josh, I'd like to hear your answer first.
So I think these are all three. As much as we've been making fun of Chef,
Chef is an easy target.
it is such an easy target because it's just a rich guy playing with his toys,
Yeah.
and we're guys recording a movie podcast. But you know, I mean, it really does have a lot of heart, and I do give it a lot of credit for being able to withhold that for the entirety of the movie. I really thought I had like this was a no-brainer in my mind before we had this talk. And I think I still am gonna go with it. I would go to Ratatouille. Hands down. I would walk into that theater for Ratatouille, not just because it's comfort, and it is much more optimistic than Big Night. Big Night can sometimes just be occasionally like a little tough to get through. It's fantastic. I love it. It's a bit slower, and for good reason as well. But right now I'm feeling like I want a feel good time that isn't Chef, and I'm gonna go with Ratatouille. So yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, I think if you're going to choose one of the two feel-good movies, Ratatouille is definitely the better option. Ratatouille is not one of my favorite Pixar movies. I mean, I like it a lot, don't get me wrong. I think there's a lot of stuff it does really well, and I love it every single time I watch it. But I'm more of like an Incredibles guy, more of an Up guy, more of a Finding Nemo guy.
Those movies have nothing in common. So what do you mean by you're that kind of guy?
They're
Jeff?
all Pixar movies, Josh. That's what I'm saying. Between these three movies, I'm going to watch Big Night again because it was a very pleasant surprise for me. There was a lot of stuff that I thought it did so well. I think it utilized film as a medium in the best possible way. And especially with a lot of the points you raised during this episode, Tristan, I would like to go back and watch it with some of those things in mind and kind of see if it is playing into those ideas more than I realized.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer because it's also my answer. I would definitely watch Big Night. That would be my hard ticket. I love Ratatouille. It's a classic. It's also not one of my favorite Pixars, but I've only seen it like once. So, Chef, it has good vibes, but I came away from it liking it less and less the more I thought about it. And at this point, I just don't even know if I even really liked it in particular. So
Damn.
I just feel like it's the exact sort of thing that it is. I don't know. Like it's almost the sort of thing that it's critiquing in a way. Like it feels commercial. It feels safe. It feels there's like no conflict in Chef. It's I don't know. I don't know. To me, it's like almost tone deaf in a way. Like it just I don't know. Especially watching it with Big Night in my head, I was like, this guy sucks. Like if anybody deserves the money to be able to do whatever the hell they want, I feel like it's Primo and Segundo. But Jon Favreau, man, he got back together with Sofia Vergara. Whatever happened to Scarlett Johansson? Is he not gonna...
I think they made mention, like it was that little conversation they had near the end where she's like, yeah, we're not doing this. And he's like, yeah, all right.
Damn.
She told him to go, and he went.
That's our show.
That's our show, everybody. Hey, thank you for listening. Thank you, Aaron Griffin, for mixing, mastering, and composing our theme song. Thank you, Jared Tadlock, for designing our brand elements. You can follow us on social media at Hard Ticket Pod, all lowercase, all one word. That's on Instagram and on Blue Sky, which I need to start updating. But hey, Instagram stuff is pretty cool, even though it's not 2014 anymore. Where can people follow you guys?
Hey, people can follow me on Instagram at Tristan_less, and you can also find me on Letterboxd at TristanM.
You can find me on Instagram at JoshyBrown1012, because of course that's my username from 8th grade. And then you can find me on Letterboxd at Joshy Brown. That wasn't in 8th grade, that was in college. But yeah, you can get me at either of those handles. They weren't taken.
Timeline. I'm loving the I feel like I know you better now.
I have a very common name. Okay, I had to differentiate, and it was just simply add a Y in there, and you're good to go.
You can also follow me on Letterboxd if you so choose at Jeff Blogus. That's again all lowercase, all one word. And you can keep up with us and see what we're doing. Next week, we're going to be covering... What the f*** was that look? What the f*** was that look for?
What was the... And you can keep up with us? Like, what are we doing here?
And you can keep up with us, and you can follow us on social media. Next week, we're going to be covering... I can't even say it. I can't say it.
What are we watching? What are you?
Next week, we're going to invite Josh back to talk about Hundreds of Beavers in relation to two Buster Keaton movies, Sherlock Jr. and The General. So give those movies a watch. 2 of the 3 of them are in the public domain, so there's no excuses, folks. Make sure you know your classics. But until then, we will see you at the movies.
Hey.
See you guys.
Bye.
It's a hard